Hey guys, and welcome back to Erebor, welcome back to Dale, welcome back to Let's Build. Now my voice is a little bit croaky, I've been a bit under the weather, but the show must go on, and Dale must be continued to be built, because if we don't keep going on with it, well, we'll never get it done. So previous episodes we've covered the amphitheatre you see here, the town hall in the background, the garden outside the back of the amphitheatre, the houses on the left, or rather the house, the walls, the gates, the river, and some of the detail, the pavement and the roads. We've also touched on how we're going to build our city of Dale, how we're going to approach the town, we're going to have an underground cavern system, as well as a few bridges and things sprawled around. So first things first, this episode, I've continued the road along the side of the riverbank, using cobblestone half blocks. Then built up on the corner of these houses you see here with wooden logs. Now I had to make a few modifications to the foundations of these buildings because the way that these buildings work is that after about halfway they get one block wider, and then the roof itself has an overhang as well. So we can't have the walls too close to each other, and I needed to make some modifications to where the foundations were so the houses didn't touch when they got near the top. Then with that in place, I started work on the first house, next to that one we built last episode. Built up with sandstone and logs. Put a ring around the midway margin. Added some windows, and then used chiseled sandstone as decoration around that ring that separates the two floors. And then again, just like the last house, we come out by one block halfway, building up again with logs and sandstone, and eventually adding windows before we approach a roof. Now we're using wooden hatches at the sides of the windows because they make really cool decoration, I think, for the kind of shutters at the side of a window. And then again, using the red nether brick for the roofs. Now the bottom of the roofs are nether brick steps, but the layers past that are half blocks to give us a shallower feel to the roofs so that they're not too sharp, too steep and too peaked. So with the second house again built, and with the design familiar in my mind, I came over to the other houses that we haven't built yet, built up with sandstone and the logs. Now with this house on the corner I wanted to do something slightly different, so I cut and pasted it and moved it up one layer, and the bottom layer I boarded with fence posts and put it on log struts, and this house is going to be just one block higher than the rest of the houses in this district. Then again, once I'd come up to the halfway mark, I put down a ring of sandstone, dug out windows from the sides of the buildings, and then began to use chiseled sandstone as decoration on those rings. Now you see the house to the right here next to the wall, it doesn't quite look the same as the others, and that's because the top thin section of the house is going to be a balcony. It's going to be like a shorter, smaller second floor with a balcony that you can walk out on and enjoy the sun. So then I got around to the rings of the houses using upside down wooden steps as decoration to border it with. And then once all the rings and the decoration was complete, I came around and built up the second layers using wooden oak logs. And then filled in the walls using sandstone blocks. Now each of these houses is slightly different enough to make it seem like a nicely varied sector. And because we've had to space the houses out far away enough so that we don't touch each other at the top, that's given us a lot of room around the bottom of the houses in between the actual buildings. And what this means is we can have a snaky path going through the district and maybe have like a well or some decoration and a garden in the middle. Now we're cracking out the sick wubs with a dubstep track for this Let's Build. Bit of a break from the norm, but why not? Now, with the houses mostly structurally complete, I came around and started to give them the red nether brick treatment, using half blocks and steps to make these roofs. Now, the jagged walls on that furthest house from us now were quite tricky to deal with, but I liked the fact that they were jagged. I mean, you can get away with building things in straight lines in Minecraft because it's a game built on squares, but when you kind of get adventurous and build diagonally, things can look a little bit better and a little bit more different. It kind of mixes it up and sets your build apart from other builds that are kind of a bit more straightforward. And there, with the roofs complete, it was time to come around and reapply this wooden hatch effect to the windows on the top and bottom floors, or rather just the top. Adding in wooden upside down steps where I'd forgotten, and then I started to build this path you see that goes through the centre of the district. Now this is just going to be a cobblestone half block path, but I wanted to use some of the techniques we demonstrated on the amphitheatre garden, like short sections of fences, bone meal on the grass for vegetation, and also I wanted a well in the centre of this district. But before then I came around to the balcony section of this house at the back here, and just toyed around with the design that I wanted for that. Now it was time to come to the garden in the centre of this district. Added a lamp post with wooden fence posts and a glowstone block, and then using cobblestone steps and some water, I made a pretty cool looking well here in the middle. Unfortunately, space wasn't on my side, so I couldn't get very creative with it, so it's just a kind of donut well for the time being. Then I came around the front of the houses and added entrances to these buildings, and put in a few entrances inside the district as well for the houses tucked away at the back there. Now, with the housing district almost complete, I came around and gave this river a bit more attention. Now, first things first, I used World Edit to dig away at the water and dig away at the riverbank. And then making sure that there were 3 diagonal blocks between the river wall here and the central wall, I made a pathway out of stone brick, much like the one at the bottom of the government district near the town hall. And then with that in place, it was time to fill in the road using cobblestone half blocks. And just tidying up the bottom of the wall there as well. And with the road complete, it was time for me to think about how we're going to get from A to B, how we're going to get from the residential district over to the garden and the amphitheatre, because it's quite far away to go all the way back to the government district to get the bridge over. So what I wanted to do was to build over a bridge that goes not only to the garden, but also to the road underneath here, you see. Now I stuck with the same style as the bridges and walkways that we have over at the other side of Dale. So much so, in fact, that I went over to copy and paste one of the pillars that we used as support for this bridge. But I pasted it a couple of times but wasn't quite happy with what I got. So I just undid it, got the sandstone blocks out and began to create my own pillar of support, using similar methods to the support that we had at the other bridge. And here you can see stone brick steps as well, and repeating this pattern of chiseled sandstone and upside down sandstone steps. Then it was time to walk around and finish up that design on the rest of the bridge. But also come around to the edge of the wall here and repeat the pattern that we have over at the government district to kind of give the walls a bit more bordering and a bit more detail. And also to put down some more lampposts, much like the ones in the government district as well. So now when people come over to the residential district in Dale and get on down here, even if it's night, the place will be well lit up and free from crime, fingers crossed. Again, copying, pasting these lampposts in. Then I came across to the wall next to the river here and added a kind of sewer access, a sewer maintenance tunnel. And also some sewage overflow pipes along the side of the wall. Right, here we go. We've completed almost another section of Dale. And with this underneath our belt, it's really starting to look like the town's going to get finished at some point. And it's looking pretty cool as well. Now, apologies again for my croaky voice. Been a bit under the weather, but, you know, the build must go on. We can't take any breaks. I'm not sure what we're going to approach next episode. Perhaps the trade district, get some of those shops in. Perhaps a blacksmith. Or maybe even look at the caverns underneath Dale and work on the catacombs and tunnels that network and snake around underneath our town. But for the time being, this has been Let's Build Erebor, the town of Dale, and I've been Sjin. Hit like and favourite and subscribe if you want to see more. And until next time, take care.